time now to take a look at stories making the headlines in Nigerian newspapers. And joining me in the studio is journalist Dari Udufo. Also here is public affairs analyst Akin Fatunke. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Veronica. Nice to be here.
Good. Let's head straight to the papers now, and I begin with the Daily Times. Chaos as hashtag EndSARS protesters rival clash. Chaos as hashtag EndSARS protesters rival clash. That story you find on the front page of the Daily Times. We'll quickly move on to the front page of the Daily Sun. Hashtag EndSARS protests turn bloody in Lagos, Abuja. Car runs into crowd in Lagos, kills 2. Vehicles smashed as mass action spreads. Agitators flood political party. Northern Coalition begins indefinite protest over insecurity. All right, let's move now to the front page of The Guardian. New twists in anti-SARS protest. Thugs, robbers attack protesters in Abuja, Lagos. Protesters occupy Kogi Government House. CNPP asks President to address nation on protests. To the front page of The Nation newspaper. Governors IG Parley on raging EndSARS protests. Security launches probe interaction. Protesters' vehicles smashed in attack. No SARS operatives for SWAT, says IG. We'll be looking at that story shortly. All right, let's quickly move to the front page of The Punch. Outrage as thugs attack protesters in Lagos, Abuja. Hashtag EndSARShits Kano. Hoodlums vandalize vehicles, injure protesters. Lagos attackers arrested. Buhari regime divisive, says Afenifere. Attacks on protesters sad. NBA laments. Criminally minded Nigerians sponsor thugs. Yaga. Federal government to blame, says San. All right, so that is the last paper. But then let's look at the story on the front page of The Nation newspaper, still looking at the hashtag EndSARS protest. This time, governors and the Inspector General of Police talking about how to end this raging protest. And the governors are asking for a sustainable police system that will earn the confidence of Nigerians without going back to the days of SARS. I'll start with you, Akin Fatunke. I'm certain you have been following developments on how we got here, and now the governors are saying perhaps let's look at ways of having a sustainable police system that the Nigerians can trust. How do we achieve that?
It's simple, and I will be talking from personal practical experience, and I say to you, Veronique, and I say to Nigerians, there is absolutely nothing that is happening within the Nigerian state today that has not happened before, looking at the likes of us in private sector. I will tell you it's a welcome development. The governors are now waking up and then doing more. I haven't said they have not done enough. I know in the Southwest we had the Amotekun thing that, and community policing, which really has not seen the light of day. But Veronique, I just want you to just imagine, when the whole of this started, if we had a proactive, responsive government, I am not necessarily talking about the present one, even though I must confess that it's gotten worse, say within the last 20 years, that have engaged, that have really set the vision and target, going to whole gamut of the National Assembly to really enact laws and lead by example, things would have been very different from the way it's gone so far. One, when this started about 9 days ago, I would have wished that the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, our President Buhari, had come out and say, yeah, if this is what you guys want, which he eventually did after days, let's start with the optics. Nigerian police force is archaic. Why don't we change that to Nigerian police service? Because it's supposed to be service-oriented, which the governments are asking for now.
So the name is one thing?
The same name is one thing. We have done that with calling the prison service. We don't call them prison service anymore.
Correctional service.
We call it correctional service.
But has that changed anything?
Well, starting point. Journey of 1,000 miles, we start with taking the first steps.
Right.
Now, what now changes the whole thing is for Mr. President to now then look at himself, like it was done in my example. We had a leader who had a vision and was able to leverage on the capacity and the multitasking aspects of people around him. We have a vice president who is really articulate.
All right.
Looks from the optics like it's been pushed to the background. And that is what we did in that private sector. We were successful. Everything went from bad, southwards, and then we were there at the top. It's not rocket science. It was done by Nigerians, still can be done by Nigerians.
All right, let's get your perspective to this, Dari, looking at a sustainable police system that would not take us back to what Nigerians have known, their experience with SARS. Where do we begin if we had to look at that? Because some have said that perhaps we need to look at the security architecture. So much is being concentrated at the center.
Yeah, thank you, Veronica. I am happy we have this opportunity to discuss this again because a few weeks back, even before the EndSARS crisis started, I think it was after the killings in Ughelli or somewhere, we were here. And we feared that things could get worse. And in a matter of days, it did. It happened in Osogbo, it happened in Ogbomoso, and before you knew it, the whole thing was blown away. However, I am not too comfortable with the way the government now is responding to these agitations. What do I mean? After some complaints or agitations, the IG said SARS has been disbanded. One would think the government and the police authority will wait for a while, even if they are not doing anything behind the scene. Give us the impression that you are worried and bothered enough to tinker with the structure. But in a matter of days, another organization was announced, named, and delivered to us.
Some persons brought up some pictures that this has even been in the coffers, perhaps since 2019.
In this era of social media, we get to hear a lot of things. Most of those pictures you are seeing don't belong to us here in Nigeria. They're foreign pictures. SWAT is not new globally. But how can you have disbanded SARS? You know, you are giving us SWAT. Are you going to import the operatives for the new organization from abroad? Or you are going to give back to them today, train them today, and they start working today? I am of the opinion that the response is too impromptu. And that's the more reason why the agitators are refusing to buy into that as an alternative.
Right.
It's as if, oh, you want a change in name, take it. What we desire and what we need to end these extrajudicial killings and other high-handedness of the police and other law enforcement authority is more than mere name change. We must, like you said, tinker with the entire architecture of our security. And in doing this, we must go beyond the arms they carry, the uniforms they wear, the things they are adorned with. We must look at the individual, the psychology of the individual operative.
And that's what they are putting forth.
If that is what we are putting forward, we couldn't have done that in a matter of days, and now we have SWAT. No, we should patiently address the yearnings of Nigerians. What Nigerians are asking for is a police force or a security apparatus that will give us the feeling that we are being protected, we are not being molested. What we have had over the years, especially from special organizations like SARS, is, our units that molest Nigerians more than they protect us. And if we must move away from that, we must holistically examine the complaints, the manners these men behave in and out of uniform, not just uniform. I've seen a police officer who wasn't in uniform and still molested somebody because he had a service pistol. So whether they're in uniform, where they live in the neighborhood, the way they respond to complaints, the way they react to the behavior of we ordinary civilians who are not trained to handle shock the way they are trained. All these are the things we need to look into. When we do that, and you present an alternative to Nigerians, the agitators will listen. What they are asking for is not an impromptu change of name. As if you just change your name, just apply to any newspaper for change of name. Then you tell us we now have a new system.
All right, let me come to you now, Mr. Fatunke. They are also looking at justice. There's been, like he mentioned, issues of human rights violations, extrajudicial killing. They want that, the agitators rather, want that addressed as quickly as possible. But we don't seem to be hearing much from that angle.
That is where the communication. Stephen Sampson in his 2011 book talk about the fact that communication, the visioning thing, the positioning, and the fact that, yes, we've been crying for justice. And in fairness, putting it in perspective, the Buhari we see today, taking the 5 agenda, 10 agenda, taking it on and say, I am going to do it, it's a step in the right direction. Yeah, nobody believes him. The scorecard is that a lot of these things are process-driven. But we need to begin to see them. I just told you about the fact that we need to change the name. We need to now begin to bring people to book. I expect a situation where the Inspector General of Police comes up and says, yeah, Chuko that was killed in Ugeli, for the guy Jimon that was gone down in Oshogbo, for Johnson that was gone down in Lagos. Yes, the officers have been taken in. They are going to face prosecution. We are going to give 5-10 days for this to happen.
Right.
And in any case, I expect, like Songolu has done, went to Mr. President to give, a list of demands that are being expected. And he also said, and I heard him clearly, we've set up a 200 million fund. I expect Mr. President there and then, commending, he did, and I say, yeah, I'm going to do a counterpart because Lagos State, because Delta State,
right,
because Oyo State have been affected here. This is exactly what I am going to do. I am going to make those changes. I'm going to put those scorecards out there. You guys, I know it's a lot of process. Please, believe me this time.
All right.
Believe me this time, things will change. But we are not seeing that, and then, we don't think we are going to be able to trust.
We don't have time, Dari. We have to leave it here now.
Right, so we'll look at the newspapers this morning. The blueprint starting with, it says here, EndSARS protest twists as hoodlums attack Abuja, Lagos protesters. Business Day, Apapa gridlock, how corruption, vested interests, ambush solution hurt businesses. That's in the Business Day newspaper this morning. Leadership newspaper is saying here, disbanded F-SARS operatives barred from joining SWAT. The writers here say, no routine patrols, unlawful search of phones, laptops, others by members of new tactical squad. EndSARS protests turned violent in Abuja, Lagos, Anambra. Police killed 10 protesters. Amnesty International alleges violent protest threats to democracy. National security says CSOs. Coalition of northern groups stages expanded protest over insecurity today. The national economy says Nigeria export proceeds number foreign shipping lines to face sanction over non-compliant as nation export goods worth 26.3 billion naira from Apapa port in Q3. The News Direct says here, it's a bold header, EndSARS, pro-SARS hoodlums disrupt protests in Lagos, Abuja. Daily Trust is saying here, police reform suffers setbacks as appeal court voids acts. That's in the Daily Trust this morning. So we'll look at the EndSARS protest, and it's in the Blueprint newspaper this morning. EndSARS protest twists as hoodlums attack Abuja, Lagos protesters. So we will be talking about this. The Blueprint says EndSARS protest twisters, hoodlums attack Abuja, Lagos protesters. The writers here says Kano youth fear sacking SARS will increase criminality. We need intelligence, result-oriented police, says Ganduje. State police is the answer, says Ekwere Madu. Youth employment time bomb, says Makinde. Youth unemployment rather time Bob says Makinde, and it's high time Buhari addressed Nigerians, says CNPP. Gentlemen, let's talk about this. The EndSARS movement, twisters, hoodlums attack Abuja, Lagos protesters.
Well, we saw this coming, this idea of clashes. We saw it coming, and I think it's time to also, while appreciating our young ones for taking the bull by the horn and telling the authorities that Nigerians cannot be taken for a ride forever, coming out to say brutality, high-handedness, and undue hardship on Nigerians will not continue in the hands of SARS. Beautiful, nice. However, with the way things are going, I also want to appeal to the agitators and the protesters nationwide to please apply caution. When you are doing something good, if you allow it to be hijacked by those with negative intentions, the entire idea of good turns bad. And what is meant to benefit the people may end up hurting the same people you are fighting for.
Now, you said it's a good thing, quite all right, but how will there be caution when you cannot pinpoint anyone as the leadership of the group?
No. That's exactly what I want to point out here, that it is now time to define the struggle. Let's define it. Let's put names and faces to these protests and agitations. If we do that, and we all know that, oh, I will be held responsible here, EU will be held responsible here, you will see that there will be more organization. And when they get more organized, the probability of hoodlums and criminals hijacking it will be reduced.
Dari, you just mentioned it. Again, I think the crux of the matter is the fact that nobody trusts
the system.
Over time, it's been in breaches. When government and policymakers say they are going to do things, we don't find them being done. Having said that, Dari, I agree with you absolutely, and I'm going to lend my voice to the fact that what we have out there now needs a bit of a rethinking. I think our youths have made the point. Our youths are not a lazy bunch.
No.
But I am expected to see that within that gambit of what we call youths, we have very good strategy. Yeah, we don't trust, we don't want to say we have leaders because we don't want our leaders to be compromised. It's true. But I am going to say something very, very important in history. On June 14, 1914, I think it was, yes. That is close to about 38,386 days today. So 106 years, 3 months, and 17 days. Something happened. A shot was fired at a bridge that we call the Latin Bridge in Sarajevo. That was the beginning of the First World War. Giovanna Principi fired that shot, and the world never became one again. Who asked him to fire the shot? Who knows? In 1971, when Kunle Adepeju, University of Ibadan, was sitting on a wall silently, some bullets went to him, and then you know the rest of the history. What am I trying to put across here? To our government, this is the time to show leadership by example. We do not want situations where at the National Assembly, our good friend, who's been very responsive, Honorable Gbajabi Amila, says in 2021 budget we are going to insert some buffers to take care of people that have lost their lives. Great on paper. But I'd like to ask the question, where is that money going to come from?
Implementation.
I expect that from the hollow chambers of the National Assembly, both the Senate and the House, this is what we are going to be putting forward. This is now the time that we are going to be cutting down on our humongous budgets, because a lot has to go on there, down to the states. Begin to ask critical questions. Secondly, the Police Service Commission I'm hearing that has not been constituted, for crying out loud, how lazy and lame duck, and this is serious matter, will have been. How do you expect situations where these police men, look at their training, look at their barracks. They have to buy, according to what we hear, they have to buy their shoes, they have to buy their uniforms. And then this same nation of what I like to call, maybe not anymore, jesters and jokers, put AK-47 in their hands, and you expect that they will not. The SARS protests is a metaphor for everything that has gone wrong in Nigeria, in governance, using your position and power to distort and say that I will do, and then nothing is going to come out from it. This is done to now rise up, get Mr. President. And I'd like to say thank you to Mr. President. You have acceded, great. But I want us to move from those accessions to making sure that we give timelines and scorecards, performance metrics, time-bound, for us to be able to get to where we are going. It is possible.
I will just, there is little or nothing to add to what has been said, but I think on the other side now of the coin, talking about the youths, yes, the police, we need to take care of them so that they don't go back to what we are complaining about. Also, you should know that the EndSARS protest is just a representation of the anger and the desires of Nigerians to see things change. Therefore, the government and others in authority should find a way of taking the welfare of the young ones, the young generation, into more consideration. When we plan our economy, when we plan our tomorrow, when we plan our budgets, let us begin to think in the direction of those youths that now they've been able to show us that they will no longer accept what is not. Therefore, let's take care of them. Let's give them some hope. Let's give them some feeling that we care about them, and they are not alone in this struggle.
Looking at the remuneration and the welfare of the police, for a policeman who has been used to force, the use of force to get what he wants for a very long time, will the increase in welfare, increase in remuneration and salary stop that?
It may not totally stop it, but obviously you see the impact. I would like
to say, I know what we are saying sociologically speaking. It's a marathon, it's a process, and a long dash race, but we start with good example. I am expecting character, I'm expecting capacity, which I am afraid I'm not seeing from our policymakers. I'm not seeing leadership by example. I'm not seeing communication that I expect. I made the point that I have a private sector experience. Everything that is happening to Nigeria, and I say that seriously speaking, everything that is happening to Nigeria, the state of flux that we are having right now, it's happened before. And we had it in private sector. I know what we did. I know how we were able to make sure we carried everybody along. I know how leadership in a company called Mobile, how leadership came into it. It was going to be a national discourse. Nigeria was going to be shut down. People should get back to history. We went through it. Nothing was found against us. And I'm saying that exemplary leadership and the capacity for Mr. President, because as it is, I see a situation where people surrounding the president will be some good, some bad, and ugly. He let him latch on the good. There are people who will be able to come out there and articulate and ensure that this is done. Leverage on the kind of capacities that we have. To the youths, it's been infiltrated. As of today, information is coming that in the north, the youth wants to come out. It's not a very good sign.
We need to round
out of school children are out there, the almajiris and all that kind of stuff. And if we are not careful, the good that we are seeing done, that you are non-lazy youths that you have done this far, may go to naught. Fight, point is made, let's demobilize and get out of the roads and then begin to engage government. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for talking to us on this. Of course, for adding your voice. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.